I have a startling bit of information for you. Not all Western heroes wear white hats. That's right. No white hats. This is a Western hero, 1971 model. Jailbird, a ladies' man, a potential killer.
What would you do?
Pay you and kill him. What kind of a hero is that? I know him. He's Clay Lomax in the Hal Wallace film Shootout. He's no Mr. Clean. The image has changed. How come? Let's go back to when it all started. About 1870, a flamboyant writer, Ned Buntline, began to glamorize the West. Out of a flood of dime novels came Western heroes, real and imaginary, like Buffalo Bill, Wild Bill Hickok, Wyatt Earp, and villains to match. Soon, every adventurous young man wanted to go west. And when the movies arrived, about 1900, they had a ready-made field. First, just brief vignettes for the Nickelodeons, like this film, made by the Edison Company. In 1903, a story Western became a tremendous hit. The Great Train Robbery had no hero, but it did have convincing action. This was the time the Butch Cassidy gang was operating, and the exploits of Jesse James and the Daltons were still fresh in people's minds. The picture had one drawback. It was shot in New Jersey. There wasn't a Westerner in the crowd. In 1908 came the bank robbery, possibly the first picture shot on location in the town of Cache, Oklahoma Territory. It was made, strangely enough, by a convicted bank robber, Al Jennings, after his release from prison. It was completely realistic, the town, the clothes, the weapons. As this rare film shows, a pattern was set. The good guys get the bad guys, but still no hero. One of the graduates of the Great Train Robbery, Gilbert Anderson, conceived the extraordinary idea of introducing a hero, Bronco Billy, into the westerns he was producing in California. The first Bronco Billy film, a one-reeler, made him famous. The film was so successful, he made close to 500 of them from 1908 to 1915. He was not a glamorized cowboy, but he was the first Western hero. The flinty eyes and the twin six guns are the trademark of William S. Hart, who replaced Bronco Billy in the public's affections. William Hart brought two assets to pictures. He was a Shakespearean stage actor of considerable reputation, and he had personal knowledge of the West. He'd grown up near an Indian reservation in the Dakotas, and he had friends among the Sioux, and even spoke their language. His westerns had stature and importance. The hero could be violent, but he must be virtuous. Popularity equaled that of Douglas Fairbanks, Mary Pickford, and Charlie Chaplin. William S. Hart reigned until the 1920s, when a more colorful leading man caught the public's eye. Tom Mix, the cowboy with flair, with showmanship. The popularity of Tom Mix has probably never been equaled. There was a hero. He had all the virtues and none of the vices.
What'll it be? Make me a lemonade, please.
Most times he didn't even shoot the heavies. He lassoed them. He and his super horse, Tony. goody-goody hero was being established. Robin Hood with a 6-gun, Sir Galahad in a 10-gallon hat. And more often, that hat was white. Who among us doesn't remember those wonderful Saturday afternoons at the movies, when the screens thundered to hoofbeats and gunshots? As stars faded, others took their place, each contributing his own special quality to the changing image of the Western hero. Hoot Gibson had been a stuntman for Tom Mix. His pictures stressed riding, action, and his particular specialty, light-hearted comedy. Ken Maynard, former rodeo champion, brought trick riding and flamboyant stunting to his pictures. But in the process, the Western hero became less and less a real cowboy. Ken Maynard's fans, however, were delighted by the thrills and fun his pictures provided. Moviegoers who preferred a more realistic hero found him in Buck Jones, who acquired an enormous following. And some of you will remember Tim McCoy, Bob Steele, and the likable Johnny Mac Brown.
You're through, Kincaid.
The epic westerns were in a class by themselves. The Covered Wagon, Stagecoach, High Noon, Red River, and the epic stars, Gary Cooper and following him, John Wayne. But the amenities were observed even in those early super westerns. Here is Gary Cooper with Walter Houston in The Virginian of 1930, and the line he made famous.
When I want to know anything from you, I'll tell you, you long-legged son of a...
You want to call me that? Smile.
The singing cowboy became the rage for a good 10 years.
His home's in Montana, he wears a bandana.
Stars like Gene Autry, Roy Rogers, and Tex Ritter. Man, if you couldn't sing and strum a guitar, you had no place in the saddle.
Got shot in the breast and you see where he lay.
Whatever happened to those marvelous stunts that were such fun in the vintage westerns? Men were willing to risk their lives doing them, and more than a few were killed. With television, the picture changed. The westerns found a new home. Theatergoers after World War II demanded more realistic fare, and they got it in pictures like The Professionals and The Wild Bunch. From Italy's spaghetti westerns came a new kind of hero. Mercenary, hard, violent. Like Clint Eastwood, seen here in 2 Mules for Sister Sarah. Average movie fans responded to leading men who were 3-dimensional human beings.
My mama says you always wear a Texas hat. That's a Colorado hat.
Those hats again.
You know I got a man covering you?
You had him, man. This is his gun. And that brings us to the code of the West. A code that says you never shoot an unarmed man, and you always give your opponent a chance to draw. Well, historians tell us that there never was a code of the West. Jesse James was shot in the back. Billy the Kid as he entered a dark room, and Wild Bill Hickok from behind while playing poker. Deplorable facts. And I, for one, refuse to accept them. I prefer to go along with Clay Lomax. His past may be checkered, and he may have a mean and violent streak in him, but when it comes to a shootout, he's Western all the way.
Come on, you want to give me a chance?
You ready to give him a chance? It says it's ready.